Would you trust Joe Biden enough to ride in a car with him on a 2 hour journey? Hey, what's up, family? Shout out to Rick D. In the comments, he made a comment about trusting Joe Biden to uh, drive him on a 2 hour journey. Would you trust that? Made me think about something I wanted to share with you guys real quick. Um, Something that happened to me when I was a young man stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, probably about 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. And my best friend was from Georgia. I was from Florida. Um, and occasionally we would hop in the car and ride down to where he was from for the weekend and kind of hang out in the country. Remember, he had this old BMW, one of those boxy type BMWs, stick shift. So anyway, one time we were taking a trip down to Georgia and kind of fell asleep at the wheel, you know, uh, felt the car bumping around. I wake up, he wakes up, uh, coming straight at a pole. He snatches the car off to the side. We end up doing a 360. Car spins completely around. And then it came to a stop facing the same direction in which we were already traveling on the road. Engine had shut off. We looked at each other, both thankful to be alive, realized what almost happened. And then he cranked the engine back up. We took off, turned the music up, rode quiet for a minute or two, and kind of had to laugh about it because at the time it was funny. It's all funny. It's all fun and games when everything turns out all right. So why do I bring this story up? I bring it up because what you had there were two young men who almost lost their lives because ultimately of irresponsible behavior. That's what it was. We weren't arrested. Um, shouldn't have been driving then. Should have pulled over long before that. Took a break. Maybe left at a different time. Bunch of different things that we could have done differently. Looking back on that, hindsight's 2020. But you had a bunch of stupid or two stupid young men. I don't know, stupid might be a harsh word, but that was what we did was stupid. And luckily, we survived that. So take that. Let's take that situation. Let's apply it to Joe Biden. What we're seeing here. We see a president who's asleep at the wheel, right? Dozing at the wheel. Everybody's watching this happen. Everybody realizes he's not in control. But let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's talk about the driver of the vehicle. You see, my friend was a very good driver. Uh, he could handle the car very well. And demonstrated in the past. We've ridden together numerous times before. I was a competent driver. Both of us knew how to drive a vehicle. Both of us were skilled at driving a vehicle. But when you're not coherent, when you're not fully conscious, when you're not fully in control, does it really matter how good you are or have been in the past? See, I think what really matters is how capable you are at this moment in time. No matter what you did in the past. Now, you can disagree or agree with Biden's record in the past, but one thing you cannot argue with, there was a time where the man could clearly articulate what he was thinking without a bunch of reporters having to come behind him and tell you what he really meant or what he was trying to say. At one point, he was a man where he could say what he thought. Whether you agreed or disagreed, he could actually articulate what he meant. He could actually move the way he wanted to move. Again, whether you agree or disagree. But he was competent in that sense. He was conscious, fully conscious, and fully capable to lead in a direction, which again you may or may not agree with, but he was capable of doing that. That's not what we see now. What we see now is we see a man who's asleep at the wheel. And if you argue and say, well, he's not asleep, well, he's dozing at the wheel. And see, when you ride in a vehicle with someone like that, the common sense thing to do is one or two things. Hey, let me drive. And if you're not, if you're not there all the way yourself, you say, hey, let's pull over. Let's get some rest. But in any case, if this vehicle keeps moving, someone else needs to be driving. If not you, if not me, someone else, or we need to stop the vehicle. And obviously, America is a vehicle that can't stop. It needs to keep going. So we need to have somebody else driving that vehicle. Anybody with common sense, anybody with a realistic view of how things should be done would agree with that. It's very difficult to disagree with that. You can't just say, well, we put him in the driver's seat, so we have to leave him there because he's the one in the driver's seat for the next 4 miles. It's not a very smart thing to do. Probably wasn't very smart to let that person drive in the first place. You come out of a bar and one of the people is drunk. And maybe he's not drunk. Maybe he's buzzing. He's just a little tipsy, right? Are you going to let him drive? Are you going to let him drive? But here's where it gets even worse. This is where it diverges a little bit because in my example, there were 2 people in the car. Just me and my friend. And if we lost our lives, we lost our lives because we were stupid. But hey, guess what? There are other people on the road. What if instead of a pole being up ahead, it was another car? What if we hit another car and somebody died because we were too stupid to pull over? Now it starts to get a little more serious, doesn't it? What if we don't hit the car? But what if we cause an accident? We cause them to swerve so much that they're in a wreck. What if there's a family in that car? But guess what? It gets even worse than that because America is not a car. It's more like a bus with lots and lots of people on it. And the driver needs to be not only skilled, not only experienced, but they need to be fully conscious and capable of maneuvering that bus at that time. This is what I find so interesting about the debates and the conversations about the prior election, who was more suited to be, who was more presidential. Again, doesn't matter where that bus is going. So much as it matters that the bus is driven by a competent individual. You may not agree with the route that bus is going to take. But just because you disagree with the destination, are you okay with a half-asleep, half-drunk driver driving the bus? Saying, oh no, we're going to go somewhere else. Are you okay with that? Seems to me if you want to go somewhere else, you would find a competent driver who agrees with that destination. And that's what's so puzzling about this to me. That's what's so puzzling about the media message. That's what's so puzzling about the lack of coverage, the lack of questions being asked. It just doesn't make sense. At least not to me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section below, guys. Take care. Peace.